Okay, I'd like to call to order the Oregon City Council Committee of the Whole meeting for June 2nd, 2025. Would you please stand and with the joining the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This is a committee of the whole meeting and attendance is not required. However, please note that all council members are present. Also joining us this evening is Mayor Michael Safarian, City Administrator Joe Major, our Clerk of Council Josette Snyder, our Law Director Melissa Papora, Acting Public Service Director Rodney Schultz, Chief of Police or Assistant Chief of Police Ryan Spangler, Fire Chief Clayton O'Brien, our Assistant Fire Chief Mark Mullins, our Finance Director Nick Roman. Our first order of business this evening is persons and delegations. We have one person that has signed in. Mr. Dunaway, if you would please come up and state your name and address for the record.
You hope. Steve Dunaway, 24 South Coy. On an issue that was brought to my attention, I was asked as a person that knows other people and stuff to do a little research. And I did have a chance to talk to several council people about it. And I do honestly believe this is going to happen. It's going to happen a whole lot sooner than the people at that end of the dais think it's going to happen. Our jail downtown in Lucas County has been condemned. The state of Ohio is on a very short list of when construction will start. The sheriff's deputies that work in the jail, they haven't had a contract in 2 years. The county commissioners told judges of our Ohio Supreme Court, because they're not negotiating, they essentially told the judges that they are insolvent and there's no way they can pay sheriff deputies an increase in wages because they have to build a jail. That tells me when you're insolvent, just because you have contracts with people, and I've discussed this with our fire chief and our assistant chief and stuff like that, just because there's a promise that we're going to get some money doesn't mean a thing. We should have increased taxes last year, let the people vote on it. Because we have two bad things happening. If they take the money, it's $800,000 a year gone. Thank God we've got an issue where we're going to ask FEMA to maybe send some money our way. But if what happens in the fall, which I highly think it's going to, they collected the 400,000 signatures in a week and a half to outlaw property taxes in this state. Within 365 days of that passing, all property taxes in this state will be off the books. You tell me. I thank my mayor for getting us off of 3 property taxes that were on the tax issue, and that we run our city without that. Because there's townships that rely on that for everything. Fire, everything is on property taxes. We outlaw it. Our state's going through some hurt. And it's going to be bad hurt. I felt, I was talking to council people about we should get it back on the ballot and let the people decide about raising the taxes. Well, we're kind of out of time. It ain't going to happen. We can't rewrite the law, do the due diligence, and get it on the ballot. I'm sorry, Kathy. It's not going to happen. We have until July 2nd. That's not going to happen. It's not going to be on the ballot. We're not going to raise taxes. And you know what? I sure hope that with our fire services, none of us ever have to have happen and have them have to come for like they did for me. I'm already on twice this year. You know, it's going to happen to all of us. Mm-hmm. And you know, if they get tied up, and I'll use a scenario, and I think I used this one before. When my son had his accident on Navarre Avenue on his motorcycle where he got cut off, the entire fire station was there. The pumpers were there. all of that. The rescue squad was there. That meant that over there on Wynn, the building was empty. I did some research. One of these century-old barns we have in town here, 4.5 minutes from the time it would start on fire to it's fully engulfed and you'll never save it. So think about it. We really did need a fire station man over there on Wheeling.
Thank you, Mr. Dunaway.
And I just, you won't hear me complain about it ever again. I'm done. I am totally done. I have more important things to worry about. I have a council person that he likes to be in the know. And a woman asked him about the water lines for the city of Toledo going under our houses and buildings. His response was, wonderful question. We should go on their website and find out. That should have been shut down right from the get-go, because that right-of-way where those 2 water lines are has been there longer than the city of Oregon's ever been a city. And that new water line's gonna go right down through that water right-of-way, and there are no buildings and no houses there. But when you have a person that's on this city council,
Mr. Dunaway, please
okay,
do not
But-
point people out.
all right.
Too
When
late.
you have a person on this city council that makes a comment, that's an interesting question. People tune out after, oh, wow, they're going under our houses. No, they're not going under our houses. And there's nothing Oregon's going to do to keep them from putting a new line in that right-of-way. And I've said it before, we get ourselves in trouble because we say things that we shouldn't, and we do it online.
Thank you, Mr. Dunaway.
Mr. President,
Ms. Ackerman?
I'll make it brief. Mr. Dunaway, I'll take that as a threat towards all the century-plus old barns in the city. So if anything happens to any of them, I'll have your door knocked on. And don't, you know what?
No.
Cause fires.
Hey, Mr. Dunaway, Mr.
just
Dunaway,
made a
please.
personal
Ms.
attack.
Ackerman, we are finished. We're going to continue on with our meeting.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dunaway, please, if you would have a seat. No?
I will leave. I have now been threatened. I brought up with that law director, did I not, about the threats I was receiving because I kept calling a certain person on this council out.
Thank,
I'm not being threatened.
thank you, Mr. Dunaway.
I will not be threatened.
The first item on the agenda for discussion is item 103 of 2025, being presented by our mayor.
Isn't it nice that as I walk out, she has to keep talking at me? Making threats?
It's presented by, item 103 of 2025 is being presented by Mayor Safarian and Fire Chief Clayton O'Brien. Chief O'Brien, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance allows us to submit an application for the SAFER grant. If you remember last year, we talked a lot about what this grant entails, and this grant entails the hiring of firefighters for our fire department. The grant application would be an application for 9 firefighters. The one major difference between last year's grant and this year's grant is that there is a match with this year's SAFER grant. And the match is 25% match for year 1 and 25% match for year 2. Year 3, it's a 65% match. But there's 2 ways of looking at that. We don't have to make the decision whether we want to accept the grant if we are awarded that grant. But also another way to look at it is it could make for a better option of, or opportunity, I should say, of being able to get the grant, because due to the match, it might put out a lot of applications that would never be submitted. So the amount that we would be looking at for year 1 and year 2 is around $322,000 in year 1 and around $348,000. We indicated it in the ordinance just so everybody was aware what that match would be for each one of those years. But just wanted to be able to answer any questions that anybody would have about the SAFER grant. And this would be just to submit the application. If we were awarded it, we would bring it back for the acceptance, and we'd have to make that decision at that time. What I'm being told from all the readings in the notice of funding for the SAFER is that the awards would be made around the August, September timeframe, no later than that timeframe, should we know.
Thank you, Chief. Anything else from the administration before we go to council questions? Mr.
President,
Major.
thank you. I do have one thing. There was a question that was brought up last week about, there were some concerns from the number of part-time firefighters on staff right now. So I didn't have accurate information. I didn't have it off the cuff at the time. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of the numbers right now. So since late 2022, we've had 18 part-timers resign and 17 were hired, new ones were hired. So there's one less, but I can tell you that as of right now, in terms of number of hours worked, the number of hours worked is way up. Difference of, somewhere between 3,500 hours worked to now about 5,500 hours worked. So the part-timers that have been hired in are working more hours, I guess. They're working shifts and just generally speaking, working more hours. So I think, Mr. Slander, you were the one that asked the question. So I don't know if you were asked by somebody or, okay. No, that's fair. I just wanted to address that for everybody's sake, because I know that's part of this conversation is, hey, why are we looking at hiring more full-time firefighters? It seems like we've had a lot of part-timers resign, but the numbers show that we're just about even from where we were about 2.5 years ago, and we're actually getting more hours worked out of them. So just wanted to mention that, and I'll take any questions, or Chief O'Brien can take any questions about it.
Thank you, Mr. Major.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor?
And I was just going to say, as Mr. Mazur said, the productivity is way up. In fact, that's not even all the hours in the year yet, so it would actually, the productivity would be about more than 2 to 1 of what we had to what we have now.
Thank you very much. Council, any questions or concerns or for the administration or Chief O'Brien?
Mr. President.
Mr. Wallenczak?
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief O'Brien, I know this is probably putting the cart before the horse, but on that hiring practice, we look at hiring 3 to 6 per year and phase them in, not all 9 at one time. Am I correct in that?
If we were, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wallenczak, if we were awarded the SAFER grant, we would have to onboard all 9 at one time.
Okay.
You have 180 days to onboard them. So it would actually fall in as we are going to be setting to be retesting our civil service to formulate a list. That'll start up here in the next few months. So that would be completed, and then essentially all those positions would come from that list.
Thank you. Just answered my second question then.
Yep.
Thank you.
Council,
Thank you, Mr. President.
you're welcome, Mr. Wallenczak. Any other questions?
Mr. President,
Mr. Mayor?
and at one time, I would say, I was very concerned when we talked about applying for the SAFER grant in years past, because as Chief O'Brien said, third year, we're at 65%, but fourth year, we're at 100%. And at the time, the last time we made the application, we didn't have any futuristic thoughts of new money in our system. With our developments that we believe are going along very well, at this time, we believe by the time we'll start to our 65%, then 100%, we will have new revenues coming in where we can actually afford it. Prior to this, it might have been not such a great idea to get something started only to end it. So feel a lot better this time applying than when we did in the past.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, I do have one question, if I may. If and when we start the hiring, I know they all have to take the civil service test, correct?
That is
Even if they are a firefighter like in Toledo or something like that?
That is
But
correct.
do we have the reciprocal coming from there to here, like we did with the police, I believe?
Mr. President, yes, we do have lateral.
Lateral,
is
that's
what
the
you're-
word.
I think, yep, that's right.
Okay, thank you. Council, anything further? Hearing none, I will seek a motion to move item 103 of 2025 to next week's agenda.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mrs. Pauloff.
so moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Pauloff.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wallenczak. We have a motion by Mrs. Pauloff, second by Mr. Wallenczak, to move item 103 of 2025 to next week's agenda. Council, are there any objections? Hearing none, item 103 of 2025 is moved to next week's agenda. The next item on the agenda for discussion is item 104 of 2025, and that's being presented by our Mayor Safarian and Chief O'Brien, the Fire Chief. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance will allow us to purchase our turnout gear, part of our 5-year plan. We had started that purchasing last year as far as that 5-year plan goes, and we replaced B-shift turnout gear. This year, we have abundance of gear that's going to be expiring in September of this year. That's why this ordinance is under an emergency. We did budget $150,000 this year for turnout gear. And you're going to see that this ordinance comes in at $100,107, and that'll replace all of our B-shift gear, but also the additional for other part-time gear that's going to be expiring as well come September. Now, what this also does is, I don't think $100,000 is going to be able to cover all of our gear for 2025. We may have some additional gear sets of gear that we'll have to purchase in 2025, and that's just because over the period of time, with all the gear expiring in September, we will no longer have, a room full of spare gear. And so with all the gear expiring. So now as we hire individuals, then we will have to buy them a new set of gear at the time that we do hire them. So as we talked a lot with the part-time and where our status is in the past, it's that return on investment that we really talk about, that productivity that we're looking out of our members to ensure that we're actually getting a return on investment, meaning the hours worked, that gear is actually being used, because it does run about $5,000 a set.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Council, any questions or concerns?
Mr. President?
Mr. Sandler.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief, just a question that I had from a citizen that actually you pretty much answered, but just to clarify for them too. So they were asking about the boots specifically. And so what you're saying, just to repeat, I guess, the sets that we're purchasing here are replacing ones that have expired and are for people specifically that they're not like extras.
Mr. President, Mr. Sandler, that is correct. That would be for individuals. That's why you'd see different sizes.
Yeah.
Because each individual is measured, by the vendor that comes out, and they are specifically to that individual.
Super.
Now, if that individual was, say we buy this gear and it's a 10.5 size boot, and they resign or they leave or move on, that 10.5 goes into our spare room, and the next person that we hire has a 10.5 boot size, they're going to get that boot. So it does stay in service until that full 10 years is up.
Super. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Sandler. Council, anything further? Hearing none, I will seek a motion to move item 104 of 2025 to next week's agenda.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mrs. Pauloff.
so moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Pauloff.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wallenczak. We have a motion by Mrs. Pauloff, a second by Mr. Wallenczak to move item 104 of 2025 to next week's agenda. Council, are there any objections? Hearing none, item 104 of 2025 is moved to next week's agenda. The next item on the agenda for discussion is item 105 of 2025, being presented by Mayor Safarian and our acting Public Service Director, Rodney Schultz. Mr. Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance is needed to enter into contracts for our 2025 road improvement program. If you flip to the third page, there's Exhibit A that kind of lists the projects. There's actually 4 projects that we'll be awarding. Project 1 is the reconstruction of Eastmoreland Drive North. That's from South Edward Street to South Coy. Back in 2022, we reconstructed South Eastmoreland Drive, so this is kind of a continuation of that. The low bidder was Ebony Construction at a cost of $509,396.78. Project number 2 is another road reconstruction. It's the reconstruction of Springwood Drive West from Springwood Drive South to the south terminus. The low bidder on that project was Crestline Paving at a cost of $354,927.05. This is kind of in a continuation of a road reconstruction project in that neighborhood. Again, back in 2022, we reconstructed Springtime Drive, which is kind of teased into this roadway. We bid out a third project, which was project number 3, which was Brown Road from South Lallendorf to South Stadium. However, in the original 2025 CIP budget, there was only $300,000 budgeted for the entire road program. We did a memo back in May indicating that we were going to bid out a little bit more than what was in the budget, hoping that we could allocate some more funds. In speaking with the finance department, they were comfortable with basically awarding the first 2 projects, but we're not comfortable with going up to, it would have been over $1 million in terms of funding to do the third project. So that project will just get rebid next year in the 2026 road program. The fourth project are some repairs on Navarre Avenue. They're kind of the water line patches and different things that have popped up where we've done repairs in the past. That funding for that project is out of the water funds, and the majority of the repairs are between South Coy Road and South Lallendorf Road. Henry W. Bergman was the low bidder on that project, and that's a cost of $37,230. Our last project, well, kind of to piggyback on that, that section of Navarre, we did get urban paving funding through ODOT. We got a $600,000 that will go towards a project to do a complete resurfacing of that, mill out 3 inches, put 3 in. That's scheduled for 2027 is when that's scheduled for. So just kind of, this is kind of preliminary work to kind of get the repairs done first, because that's not covered under the ODOT urban paving funding. The last project is the Oregon, Project 5 is the Oregon Trail Multi-Purpose Path, Phase 2, which is a bike path, 10-foot wide asphalt path from Navarre Avenue up to Star Avenue. There will be a section along Navarre Avenue in front of Fifth Third Bank. That'll be a concrete section, similar to the south side of the road in front of Aldi's where we have concrete. This is the project where we've had a couple easements that have come before council here in the last couple months. So this is the actual construction of it. Project will be awarded to Vernon Nagel. They're the low bidder, the $591,253. And again, the path will follow along the Walmart pond and then also along the Hickory Shores pond up to Star Avenue, and that's where it'll connect into the Star Avenue bike lanes. There was a 6th project we bid out. Actually, that was a project for the Oregon schools, so we included in our package to kind of help them facilitate getting bids for doing a driveway reconstruct at Star Elementary. That's up to Oregon schools whether they award that or not. Then I did want to point out, we will be bidding out the Navarre Avenue Safety Project in the next month or so, and kind of to help cover the additional costs needed for our road program this year. We did get an additional $592,000 in OPWC funding. We found out late last fall that we did get that grant funding, so that kind of offsets the additional ask that we have for the road program. If anybody has any questions regarding any of the projects, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Mr. Schultz, just real quick, you covered both items, or is that just 105? Did you do 106?
No, I
as
haven't
well?
done 105 yet. That's related, but a separate.
106, you mean, correct?
106. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, okay.
That's correct.
Council, any questions on item 105 for Mr. Schultz? Hearing none, I will seek a motion to move item 105 of 2025 to next week's agenda.
Mr. President,
Mrs. Pauloff?
so moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Pauloff.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wallenczak. We have a motion by Mrs. Pauloff, a second by Mr. Wallenczak to move item 105 of 2025 to next week's agenda. Council, are there any objections? Hearing none, item 105 of 2025 is moved to next week's agenda. The next item on the agenda for discussion is item 106 of 2025, and that's being presented by Mayor Safarian and our Acting Public Service Director, Rodney Schultz. Mr. Schultz.
Thank you, President. This ordinance is needed to enter into a contract with Kleinfelter for some final design that we needed for the Oregon Trail Bikeway Phase 2 project. They also needed to update some legal descriptions and survey information for the easements that we acquired, and then also we'll be using them in case we have questions during construction, some administrative that we typically do when we do our projects with the original designers of the projects in case we have questions that arise. So it's really just to cover some of the final costs. Polgermeyer, Kleinfelder was originally Polgermeyer, and they were the ones that did the original design, so Kleinfelder was just kind of finishing it up. So it's really just some final design completing, so.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Council, any further questions for Mr. Schultz? Hearing none, I will seek a motion to move item 106 106 to next week's agenda.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mrs. Pauloff.
so moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Pauloff. Second by Mr. Salander. We have a motion by Mrs. Pauloff, second by Mr. Salander, to move item 106 of 2025 to next week's agenda. Council, are there any objections? Hearing none, item 106 of 2025 is moved to next week's agenda. And our last item on the agenda for this evening is item 107 of 2025 being presented by our Mayor Safarian and our Finance Director, Nick Roman. Mr. Roman.
Thank you, Mr. President. This item is needed to authorize us to get into an agreement to apply for the CHIP program for 2025. If you may remember, we applied last year, and typically we apply for the CHIP program every 2 years. Unfortunately, we did not receive it last year. The reasoning was that we hadn't used, and when I say we, it's us, Lucas County, and Maumee, we hadn't used prior funds from 2020 and 2022 as much as they believed we could have. So we are reapplying for it this year, and we believe that with the new administrator in Kleinfelder that we are going to get it, and we should be able to use the full amount of the program funds. Any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Council, any questions for Mr. Roman? Hearing none, I will seek a motion to move item 107 of 2025 to next week's agenda.
Mr. President.
Mr. Wallenczak.
Mr. President, I make a motion to move item number 107 of 2025 to next week's regular meeting agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Wallenczak.
Second.
Second by Mr. Drake. We have a motion by Mr. Wallenczak and a second by Mr. Drake to move item 107 of 2025 to next week's agenda. Council, are there any objections? Hearing none, item 107 of 2025 is moved to next week's agenda. With all the items on the agenda being considered, we will now move on to the mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Council, I want to do a little Boomfest update. It's really difficult to pull off this event, especially when it cost quite a bit of money to do, and we rely on partners from businesses in the city to help fund it. And it's not like I used the word solicit before, but it's not like we solicit. We let them know that we have this event, and then we wait to see if members come forward to make donations. And one thing I will assure you is you appropriated $30,000 of city funds. We had the incoming $12,000 from last year to making it $42,000. This year, the headliner's quite a bit more expensive than last year. Not as expensive as some in the past, but last year you allocated $60,000, and we tried to put a handle on the amount of city employee help as overtime or working schedules, and that comes to approximately $12,000 $133.78. It's not to the penny. It's really almost impossible to create it right to the penny, but that's a real close number. And Nick Roman spent a lot of time to come up with that money, or that dollar amount. So we expect that, even if we had the fireworks, we'd have the fire department out, and police department. It wouldn't be as much as if we have a concert, but we do that type of event, just like when they had graduation day for the schools. There was police overtime working, other events, Safety Town, when we used to have Oregon Fest. All that stuff is normally on city functions, things that we partake in and supply security for the city. So this year, at one time, we thought we may have to cancel Boom Fest. And when some of the businesses found that out, they seemed to contact us, and we believe money is coming in where we can achieve, instead of like last year, our expenses were about $103,000. This year, we figure it would be, with fireworks and all, about in the neighborhood of 130. Cut some of the things out, so maybe 125, and we're very close to approaching that number. Once again, no other money would be allocated other than the $30,000 that was appropriated. We're very close, and we got to play the waiting game to see who comes forward with more money. So we're at the stage where we think we can do this, and if we're short, we will make a little less of a fireworks show to accommodate the money we have. So I expect that in the future, there's a contract that has to be signed with the headliner, and any other thing, I will keep you updated. There certainly is no secret. There is money being spent, but you can rest assured that we would be the $30,000 plus approximately $12,000 worth of overtime costs or city worker time in this event. So I would like to be able to go forward and pull off an event. We have a lot of volunteers that are interested in checking every day of how things are going, and hope to be able to make a solid decision within, I think, 2 weeks. You say, Joe, that in 2 Fridays from now, because we got to let these people know they're holding spots for us. So I will keep you updated with everything, but the one thing to bear in mind the most is the other dollars that we spend are from the people who have partnered up with us to create this event, because we're holding pat with the $42,000 that we have. Everything else will be from people who choose to join up and help us.
Thank you, Mayor. Is that the end of your report?
That can be, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Major.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one real quick statement on the grass cutting and complaints right now. It is there are a lot of lots out there that are starting to get overgrown. We are looking into them. We are enforcing on these lots, and if anybody has any that they know of that could be missed, please let us know. Call the office, email us, whatever it takes, and we'll get somebody out there to check it out right away. There are a handful of them right now, but I did notice, like, the Rite Aid on the corner of Coy and Navarre is one of them. And they mowed the right-of-way, but they didn't weed their landscaping areas. So, it's things like that we're checking on. I just heard a little bit ago that construction sites aren't being maintained, and your typical housing lots. We are getting the complaints. We are addressing them. It'll take a little time to get through them, but we're doing it. So if anybody has any grass lots that are overgrown that you know of, please let us know. You know, we're trying to catch them all, but, you know, we're doing our best, but some of them we miss. So it's always helpful when people let us know which ones are overgrown. That's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Major. Ms. Purpura.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Purpura. Mr. Schultz.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Mr. Horniak.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Horniak. Mrs. Pauloff.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mrs. Pauloff. Mr. Wallenczak.
I have no report this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Wallenczak. Ms. Ackerman.
Mr. President, nothing from my standing committee, but I would ask that please be considerate of the farmers who are, things finally have dried out. Now we're expecting 1.5 inches rain by this weekend, but be aware of farming equipment and slow-moving vehicles, and just please be patient, because we don't want to be on the road any more than you want us on the road. And so just for everyone's safety, I would just ask people be more diligent and forbearing with us. I did have a question about I like seeing in the town center where the Hovanian houses are selling, but now when I go on there, I used to be able to look at each individual parcel, and now it's just one big parcel again. So I'm just curious, like, why it's like that, and who did it? I mean, the Oregon Economic Development did it, but I mean, this seems like an expense when people want to see the progress and see, you know, get excited about things getting sold. And I was just curious if there was a reason for that.
Mr. President?
Yes,
Are you
Mr.
speaking, just to ask, I don't mean to answer the question with a question, but what, are you looking on the Lucas County Auditor's Office page?
Yeah,
to
because
see
there's
that?
no information other than it just went back to, it used to be every little parcel in there so you could see when the house was sold, and now it's like you can't see anything, it's just one big Oregon Economic Development, like it went back in time.
Well, it shouldn't, because Rodney has it up right now. He looked it up, and it's all listed as
Really?
individual lots, yeah.
Okay,
And we didn't do anything different.
You can see
They
the
are all
lots, but-
individual parcels. Now, all the lot splits are done. In order to take it back, they would have to file something to take it back to make it all one. So either when you logged on to the auditor's website,
It was just
glitched,
earlier today, so
and it
yeah.
glitched on you or
Yeah.
something, because, I mean, it's still up, and they didn't do anything to
Okay,
combine the
great.
lots.
No, that's
They
great.
can't,
Yeah.
because there's different owners now.
Right, that's
So
what I would think,
that's,
yeah.
yeah, so something must have glitched on the system is what I
Okay.
would think, so.
Good, I'm
Yep.
glad that that's all it is.
Thank you, Mr. Major.
That's.
Thank you, Ms. Ackerman. Mr. Salander.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing from my standing committee. I just had a couple questions. One is, there was an editorial in the Blade regarding the town center, and it was stated in there, I quote, "Oregon officials who know the details say citizens will be happy with the arrivals." I was curious, who are those city officials?
Who are what?
The city officials that know the details, as it was stated in the article.
Mr.
I
Major.
would be one of those.
Mr. Major?
Yeah, Mr. President, Mr. Slander, what details are
I
you
don't
speaking
know.
of?
It was just in the article, then they were talking about what was coming in there and so forth. It just said, you know, the Oregon officials who know the details say citizens will be happy with the arrivals. So I was curious as to who is it, the city officials that know the details?
Yeah,
of it?
I can answer that, and maybe I'm one of them.
Yeah.
You know, in working with the developer, they are sworn to secrecy with their tenants. As they mentioned at that groundbreaking ceremony, that the tenants are the ones that make their own announcements. So that's been a longstanding, I guess, expectation of us and them as the developer, that the tenants' names remain anonymous.
Okay.
So we don't have any records of who those tenants are,
Okay,
but that's,
I appreciate the clarification.
I think it's
Thank
fair
you.
to say Joel, myself, and Paul Roman. I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Sandler, is that it?
Just one other thing. When you were, Mr. Mayor, when you were speaking of Boom Fest, we're good that we're not in danger but being canceled at all? Are we in a safe spot?
That's hard to answer. Because we're very cautious funding-wise. So I don't want to say, I started to promote it and I pulled back from advertising it till I can be more assured that we can cover all the expenses and then proceed to go forward. We have not made any deposits, and we've got people that just out of being used to doing business with us have given us latitude to hold equipment, a stage, the headliner. Traditionally, they wouldn't hold like that, but they have been good. And like I said, I think in two weeks, I can feel more assured to say, yes, we're having an event. We're very close, and right now, like if we had to scale back a few things, we could do it. I want to say yes.
Okay, so with that being said, then, you were mentioning that we haven't put any deposits, so worst case scenario, and I don't want anything to happen, I know a lot of people like it, and it's a good time. We're not in danger of
Losing any money,
the-
no.
Right, okay.
We have not, yes, that's
All right.
correct.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank
One final thing, and it's not a question, but the Prism Awards were last week, which were put on by the chamber, and it was fantastic. It was a great time, and I just wanted to just congratulate all the winners from that evening. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sandler. Mr. Drake?
No report from my committee, just a couple odds and ends. I know this one, I think I brought it up at least the last 3 years, probably multiple times some of the years. The old In-N-Out Mart, you know, the asphalt there, it still looks like, used to look like the moon surface. Now it looks like, I don't know if it's Saturn or Pluto. And I mean, that's horrible. And like I said before, there's a lot of people in those apartments that have wheelchairs and they cut through there and they rely on that. And that's who I hear a lot of it from. The other thing is, not this weekend, but next weekend is the Polish picnic, June 13th through the 14th at Oak Shade Grove. And then kind of to get back to what Steve asked about Boom Fest, and I know this has been asked before, I don't know by who, but is there any way the city can get insurance just in case, say it would, thunderstorms all day and night long?
Yeah, yes, you can, but it's fairly expensive. So we'll check and see what the coverage is, but it's not as easy as just saying, oh, hey, we want insurance, hey, bring us our money. It's not that easy. We've had some pretty good rains a couple of the years, and we made it through. So, yeah, I'll tell you, that's a bad day. You know, it's a nightmare day. I think about it all the time.
I'm like Steve, I hope it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know,
Mr. President, if
Mr.
I
Major,
may, I can answer a little bit to that too. When you get insurance for an event, they are looking for, say, like, it's a fundraiser. So a lot of them will insure that so that, like, probably like GAF, that's a big revenue generator to run the entire property for the whole year, right? So that's when they get event insurance for that, that pays them. In this case, it's a free event. So I'm not really sure that there would be an insurance that would cover anything that where the city would get something back for something that they don't get revenues from, if that makes sense.
Real tough.
Mr. Major?
Thank you.
Mr. President?
yes,
Mr.
Ms.
Major,
Ackerman.
when the GAF started doing rain insurance, it only covered our input costs. So it would cover what it cost you to put on the event. Now, when it comes to donations, yeah, I don't know how they would work with that, but it had to rain a full inch, a full measured inch before it paid out. So, and, you know, I'm sure, and it would be probably all the more expensive to get insurance that would pay out at a lesser amount, so, yeah. I don't-
Thank you, Ms. Ackerman.
Mr.
Mr.
President,
Drake?
just to say, I did check with our insurance carrier a few years back, and there's a whole bunch of details that go with that. And then we figured we'd just have to risk taking it on the chin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Drake, anything further?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Drake. I have nothing from my standing committee. Mr. Schmady walked in late. He is asked to come up and speak. Mr. Schmady, if you could make it short, please. Thank you. Name and address, please, for the record.
Yes, sir. Omar Smitty, 2949 Camelot. So, Mr. Mayor, I just want to verify, like, what you said about Boom Fest. So my understanding is that you said you're expecting 130,000 total cost, and you have 42 allocated. So you're looking for 88 grand in donations from the private sector?
That's correct.
And you'll have that, you'll know that within 2 weeks from this Friday is the deadline?
I have it in promise commitments. But if you're used to raising money like politically, like for your political campaign, and if you got 100 people that say they're going to give you $100, if you do the math, that's $10,000. But in essence, it comes out to $2,000. So until that money, we got enough committed, we don't have it in our hands. I don't have it in my pockets. Melissa gets nervous when I say stuff like that. But, no, it goes right over, and Mr. Roman gets a little nervous too, or real nervous. But yeah, when Mr. Roman says we got that money, then we'll be good.
Okay, and then...
We're real close.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Mazur, going back to the SAFER grant, you mentioned that the hours worked increased 3,500 to 5,500 hours. Was that an average per year since 2022, that 3,500 to 5,500 hours?
That's, Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. Smitty, that's as of 2024 numbers.
Okay.
And I could ask.
Mr. President, Mr.
Chief
Mazur.
Yes,
O'Brien to-
If you don't mind.
Chief O'Brien.
So we did look back in the most common year to be able to look at how those hours change with the part-time members. So we've had about 18 of those members that had resigned and 17 that we have hired since that time. But the only year of most of those people coming on board were in '23. Most of the people going out were in the late '23. So '24 was really the year that we had to be able to look at. And then we had that massive resignations, retirements, in 2024. So when we looked at those, all the individuals that had resigned, that total of numbers of hours worked added up to around 3,300 hours, okay? The hours worked by the 17 people that we hired add up to around 6,000 and some change hours. And so now, then in 2025, they're up to just shy of 6,000 hours in 2025. So the amount of hours that you're getting out of the members today compared to what the members were before. And that is simply because of the change of the way that our organization is now. At the end of '24, we transitioned from that local responder model to a true part-time working at the station and a full-time combination department.
Wow, that's still considered part-time, huh, with all them extra hours?
What's that?
The personnel are still considered part-time with all them extra hours?
So part-time is considered anything less than 30 hours a week, or an average of 1,500 hours an entire year, is what's considered part-time. Part-time for us, and what our stipulation and standard is at the Oregon Fire and Rescue Department, is 3 shifts or 3 12-hour shifts and your training per month. So 36 hours a month per member, plus their training is what keeps them in good terms for part-time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smeedy. If there is no further business before council, I will seek a motion to adjourn. So moved by Mr. Horniak, second by Mrs. Paul. If council, any objections? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.